Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rising Tide's Clever Title Pending, where we talk about creativity and the business behind it. I'm Brian K. Morris because Meredith went to a lot of trouble to tell you guys that. That's why we got the introduction here. And speaking of Meredith, we are going to talk about starting your own publishing company. And yeah, we're going to be mentioning Terraform Comics once or twice, I am sure, especially if you look at the crawl. Anyway, I am joined by... let me unmute them because I know they're going to have a plethora, yes, that's a word, of things to say. And hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it.
Hello, hello.
Hello. And we are going to start out with Beauty and then the two beasts. So anyway, we're going to, while everybody's piling into the room here, we're going, yeah, that's you, Meredith. Yes, on the set. I'm trying to be nice.
Look, I put on my camera and all when you said beauty. I'm so heartbroken. Fine. Meredith is cuter than me, but I want to be the second beauty of the room. I don't want to be a beast like some other people.
I own it. I'm clearly a beast.
Beard. Look at that beard. It's getting beastly.
I know. Don't they let you out of the house, Luke?
No.
Okay. I understand that. Anyway, let's start with Meredith. Please introduce yourself and tell everybody why you're so darn awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Meredith, and apparently I'm awesome. So I am the social media director at Terraform Comics, but I am also a part of Geek Insider and Wild One Forever. And, we are trying to change the landscape of comics, and I'm going to let the guys really talk about that. And I'm just here to, to look pretty, but it's been really busy. We've got indie event coming up, and we're going to be talking about that as well. And I'm really going to pass the baton because I could spend all day talking about all my different titles and stuff like that, but we're not here for that.
Says you. Here he is, the one, the only, the delightful, the delicious. Yes, it's him, Rob AnderSIN. Rob?
Now, I know Brian asked me to do this with a shirt off, but I got in trouble over the July 4th weekend for having a shirtless show. So it's going to definitely have to be on Indie Vault the next time I go shirtless. I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry. But I did wear the tank top just for you, just to show off stuff. No, I'm happy to be here on Clever Title Pending talking to my good friend Brian K. Morris. And also, of course, he's a very important part of what we're doing over at Terraform Comics. And I'm going to discuss with you guys not just what I know from doing things in Terraform Comics, but all the stuff I've learned for over a decade of paying attention to this industry, the pitfalls of creating your own publisher, whether you need a publisher or not, if you're at a point where a publisher can help you, and anything you guys want to ask, by all means. That's Brian K. Morris is known for his comments, so please drop those questions and let him ask it to us. And I'm going to pass it off to the one, the only Luke Stone.
Hey, everyone. My name is Luke Stone. I am the editor-in-chief here at Terraform Comics, and happy to be making comic books with all of these great people. I've been responsible for a few different titles over the years, probably most notably the Hybrid Sons of Gods series. So far, we've got 1 through 5 coming out, and then I have my hand to a couple of other projects you're going to be seeing later this year. So I've got some experience with starting a publishing company. This one, I've also ran a little company called Tenacious Comics a few years back, about 5 years ago when I first met Rob. And then I've also been a part of a couple of record labels and things like that. So publishing music and things like that. So I've got some experience with publishing intellectual properties. So I hope to be able to help anyone who's interested tonight.
All right. Thank you very much, Luke. And like Rob said, we welcome questions. In fact, we encourage them because you've got a real array of talent here. And I'm not including myself in that, but we've got people with experience in multimedia, in press releases, in art, in story. So right now, this is a great time to pick our brains. And just because we're, comics in this incarnation doesn't mean that a lot of this doesn't apply to, say, books as well. So please ask your questions, and we will get everybody. We'll start running some comments along the bottom of the screen there, and once somebody has a question, we're going to ask the group. Now, first of all, let me start with what is your basic publishing experience, both self working for someone else. Who wants to go? I see Rob is out of the room at the moment.
I'm here. I'm dealing with Jax. Just call me.
Okay. Hi, Jax.
Yeah, I can go. I can go first.
Okay, Meredith, and why don't you take it?
Yeah. So, my publishing experience goes back to newspapers. Actually, I am familiar with layout, publishing, editing, doing newspaper things on a daily basis. And, so with that kind of training, it was, especially in newspapers, you do it right the first time, because once it's in print, you're, that's it. And if you screw up, you can't go back and take it back. It's not like the internet and stuff where you can go in and edit a post or something like that. It's there for public record forever and ever. And, so I have some publishing experience, not necessarily in comic books. My own story with comic books is actually, I've always had an interest in it, but I never had the roadmap to get that done. Something always got in the way, whether it was life or whatever. So, but I've always been a storyteller. I've been writing ever since I was a child. And a lot of that comes from just my upbringing, being like the odd kid. Many of you probably don't know, but I have Asperger's. And, it took basically a lifetime to kind of assimilate and be normal. And, so I escaped into writing as a vehicle of kind of staying sane and feeling like I fit in somewhere. So writing has been my community, and all that comes with it. So taking that, and with the newspaper experience, it just seemed like this was a really great next step, because I love learning new things. And so publishing in itself is not anything new. Comic books is for me. And it's really wonderful to be part of this group who wants to take talent. And I'm not just saying, like me necessarily, but anybody who has a good story, who has a really good personality, and shape that into the best possible story and book that it can be. And that's kind of my hope for Terraform. And it's one of the things that I'm really excited about as far as being part of this group. And when it comes to that, when it comes to quality in writing, in art, and being a quality person, just being a really decent human being, I will market that. I will shout your stuff to the rooftops and back, because I've always said that I have broad shoulders. I'm like, you know what, get up there and I will help you up. And that, I think that's where my strength is I love helping people. And often to the detriment of myself and my own creativity. But that's my passion. And I have to fully embrace that, because I feel that that's something that I'm good at.
All right, very good. Which one of you gentlemen would like to take the same question? Who wants to relate their history in publishing?
Well, let's go ahead and let Rob take that.
Okay, Rob, you just got voluntold.
That's fine. Like Meredith, I've had newspaper experience. I've worked for online stuff where they were journalists. Of course, I'm a journalist through my site. So I've learned publishing that way. I've had publishing deals to be a novelist. It didn't go the way I wanted it. So, and that was my fault, not theirs. So, I've worked with publishers behind the scenes to help them with certain things. I've never worked for a publisher by design. For me to work for a publisher, it really has to offer a lot. It has to really matter to me. And that's one of the things I want to bring to Terraform is a reasonable responsibility for how we can help creators. Because there are a lot of, especially lower tier publishers, that they're just grabbing titles to try to hit big with one of them. I don't want us to be that. I want us to offer someone the opportunity to grow. And publishing wise, I've obviously done a bunch of Kickstarters. I've published on my own, and I know more than some, and I know not as much as I should from the people above me. So I'm still trying to learn as much as I can. Luke?
All right. Yeah, so I actually started out with music publishing way back in the day. I've worked for a few record labels in the past with A&R, and then also with the writing the contracts. So I had a lot of opportunity to write those and understand the legal side of things. And so that's kind of where I came from originally. And then probably it was about 2014, 2015 in that area, I decided I wanted to start getting back into comic books and started working on my own title. And like most people, I had a hard time finding someone that wanted to pick it up. And so I decided to be the guy that self-published, And so instead of just having my own title in there, I decided to grab a couple of other people, and I did all the research I needed to for the comic side of things, took all of my experience that I had with the music side of publishing and adapted those things into comic books. And then I started my first company called Tenacious Comics back, and I think it was 2015 when we did that. And we had about 6 or 7 creators under us and several different titles that we did. I learned the hard way that not everyone that says that they're like legit and that they're honest people and that work in this industry are really that way. I just kind of assumed, when people kind of claim that they have the same kind of faith that I do, that they would be. But we had someone that kind of joined the group that was under the guise of a good guy, and we all kind of felt he was. And then he started running some Kickstarters and wound up taking a bunch of money from us. And so we had to wind up fulfilling ourselves, and things got busy, stopped publishing. And then I worked for a group called Starcross Comics for a while as the project manager. And there I did pretty much almost everything an editor-in-chief would do, but just kind of the project manager. We still had some direction from our editor-in-chief there. And then just recently left there, and we obviously have started Terraform Comics, which is taking all of the experience from all of the above to be put together for this. So that's my experience with publishing.
Very good. And we have our first question here from Cindy Cap. And this is about, you mentioned the legal side of things. Cindy Cap says, so I'm considering getting my first 3 novels back from the publisher and self-pubbing so I can get them back into paperbacks. Do I need to LLC or DBA or just go for it? Luke, I think since you've handled the legal stuff for us pretty much.
Yeah, you can just go for it. It is a little expensive to file for for LLC. The only reason you would need to do, if you're self-publishing, no one's going to sue you. I mean, that's the thing. When you're publishing other people, someone might try to sue you for damages, and that's why you need an LLC or something like that. Other than that, you can literally just publish it yourself. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask, because I could even help you with we can answer some of those questions on how you go about publishing. Publishing is really, it seems really complicated, but it's not as complicated as what most people think. It's there's some simple steps that are done to really get you there, but just go for it.
That's true. And I'll also add. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Meredith. Please.
I was going to say, I think that if you do have works with your publisher, definitely take a look at your contract and make sure that you're not breaking anything in it, because I think that in some cases that there's a period of time where they have exclusivity, so there might be an exclusive clause in there. And so you want to make sure that you are not within the bounds or the confines of your contract. Otherwise, if you're not, then I definitely say self-publish. That seems to be the way of things, and the I think the attitude towards self-publishing has changed drastically in the last 10 years or so.
Rob, anything to add?
First, if you're actually doing novels, you need a copyright your novel. That will work as an LLC. That'll take care of everything you needed. As comic book creators, we have to deal with artists. That becomes problematic. We have to worry about people saying we infringed on certain looks. It could be legal. An LLC helps you for lawsuit issues. Unless you're plagiarizing, you never need to be an LLC. If you're self-publishing, just yourself. The reason you'd set up an LLC if you're publishing other people's works is in case they do actually do something that's heinous, like steal someone else's stories, plagiarize. That's why you need an LLC as a novelist. Comic book creators have a little bit of a difference because we do deal with a lot of artists, and there are certain contracts. If I were just on my own, like what I am with Written Sins Comics and Advocate Comics, I would never do an LLC. I have contracts that I've written just well enough that they work, and I have screenshots of my messenger. I don't feel a need for it, but when you're doing something like Terraform Comics, you're going to be bringing in other people's IPs. We can only do so much research until someone else, we don't know. And it happens in this industry with comic books. Someone was a partner with someone, and then when they come pitch to you, they never tell us about that partnership from 10 years ago. And we find out about it when we get a legal paper that's saying that we breached a contract this guy had 10 years ago. The LLC saves Terraform Comics from any personal wrongdoing. However, it won't save the person that we did business with. And if any one of us individually tried to take ownership of it, like if we tried to own it ourselves, it wouldn't protect us as an individual. Understand, an LLC does not make it so you can't be personally sued if there is any way, shape, or form that you are involved in the action itself, which would be plagiarism. So realistically, if you're not doing anything wrong and you're self-publishing, no, you don't need anything, but you need a copyright. Make sure you copyright everything. And don't just send it to you. Really do the copyright.
Yes, the poor man's copyright doesn't work.
Well, it does, but you got to go to court. You have to go to court to prove all that, and a judge gets to look at it and decide if it counts. You go to the court, you copyright something, not court, the Library of Congress, you copyright it. You never go to court. That guy has got to spend all of his time, or girl, proving that your copyright doesn't stand up. So first they have to go out and prove that your copyright doesn't stand. And I'll tell you the percentage. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's ridiculous. I know it's under 3% of people who can prove a copyright does not work. That is how often cases are thrown out when a copyright is shown. Because a copyright's like a flag, if you would. I was here first. This was my idea. Doesn't matter what you think you had. He or she made it to the copyright office before you. They win. It's almost impossible to go around a copyright. It happens.
Now, I have seen it work where people like published to a website, or they published to Amazon or something like that before someone else had established a copyright, and those publishing dates also serve as a copyright because obviously the material was available to the public prior to the date of that copyright. So copyrights are a good thing. There are some reasons where some people work around it. Web comics, they don't need to be copyrighted because as soon as they're published, they have a publishing date. They're digitally time-stamped.
I agree, but in court, you now have to go to court to prove when you published it. You have to prove. And again, plagiarism is usually what copyrights are about. And they're going to look at it really quick. If you have a copyright, they'll look at your copyright, pull down your copyright from the Library of Congress and compare it. There is, Brian, what is it? It's like 30%. It has to be different by 30 to 35%. If you can prove there's a change enough between, I think it's like 30 and 35% of the story,
Yeah, something like that. And also, it's you can also get punitive damages against the plagiarist. That can be up to like $500,000, I think, and 6 months in jail. But you can only do that if you get a copyright, and you have to have the copyright. The application itself will not suffice.
Sure.
And remember, even if you get the copyright, here's something people don't know because they don't talk about it. If you get the copyright, you'll have to pay less damages because they'll have to now prove that you stole it from them. That's the second part of the case. Did this person ever see your webcomic? Can you prove they saw the webcomic? And again, how close is it? If it's a 50-50 ratio, that's a light bulb, baby. We know the light bulb wasn't created by who we give credit for. It was actually created by Tesla. He didn't make it to the patent office. And there was a person in Germany, again, didn't make it to the patent office at the time. So who do we think invented the light bulb? Thomas Edison. And he never had anything to do with it, but he put in the patent first. That matters a lot in court. It's almost impossible to go against it. And I'll be honest with you, if you try to take on a giant corporation, your copyright will save your ass a lot more than not having a copyright. Having a copyright will really benefit you as opposed to going up a Marvel and DC with, I did publish this on this site. Can you manipulate that site's web? Because that's the first thing the lawyer will say. Can you manipulate the fact of date on it? Yes, you can. Every website, I can go in and manipulate all the posts, and I can make them look like they were posted in a different time. Oh, well, now you have to prove that it's somewhere on an archive, and you're spending all that time proving. That's what I'm trying to express to you. $45, or it's 55 now, I think, for a novel.
55.
$55, no legal fees. Something comes up, they have to literally prove that you have taken from them. That is the only way to go against the copyright. They'll have to prove you have plagiarized them, basically. That's why I say go copyright. It's the cheapest lawyer you'll ever hire.
That's true. That's true. And for those of you who don't know, LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation, which is not the same as it's kind of like incorporation, where you get certain, like has been said, you get certain protections under the law. If you are sued, it's also a lot less expensive, and you have to jump through fewer hoops. But this is if you expect to be sued. DBA is doing business as, which is how, if somebody writes you a check, for instance, they can give it to you. They can write it in the name of, let's say somebody did it for Rising Tide Publications. Your financial institution can tell you whether they accept it or not. I know that a lot of credit unions do not, as opposed to regular banks. And most of the time, it doesn't cost anything. You simply have to fill out some paperwork with your financial institution. But all a DBA does is allow you to accept money under the name of your business. But otherwise, the other part of your question, go for it. Definitely go for it, because you got the control back. And that's something that was very important to us was, like Luke and Rob both had intellectual properties that had been published by other people. But it is very important for us to have the control over them. So that was kind of an issue when we started this up.
Now, if you start an LLC, you won't need to do a DBA because unless you're going to do business under a different name than the LLC. So as Terraform Comics, we're Terraform Comics LLC. So when someone writes out a check, they write it out to Terraform Comics LLC. Unless we were going to do an imprint underneath this and have a different name for it. Let's say we're just going to for instance, we absorbed a company like Rising Tide, and Rising Tide then became a part of Terraform, but an imprint of Terraform. Like say we use Rising Tide to handle all of our novels. Let's say we wanted to get into novels or games, and we wanted that imprint to cover all that. So in that instance, we would have to go to our bank, and we would have to go to our to the state that we're got our LLC in, and then we would register for a DBA. That way we could say, well, it's actually Terraform Comics, but we're doing business as Rising Tide, as an example, so that we can then take checks and money, and all the accounting would then still get funneled through the LLC that you have. But if you're just going to say, hey, it's Syndicap LLC, and then so you could just go to the bank, and once you get your paperwork and you've got your IAN numbers, you just go and you set up your bank accounts, and then people write checks to that. That's the only reason you would need a DBA is if you were going to do it under another name.
Right. And I do feel the need to put in the usual disclaimer. This is not legal information. In all cases such as this, you should consult with a lawyer who knows this sort of crap. And
Absolutely.
and which is how they'll describe it too. So you definitely always seek proper legal information, but we are glad to give any sort of guidance that we have. But if anybody should sue you as a result of the information you received on tonight's episode, you've never seen us before in your life. So anyway, Michaela Jade now has a question dealing with comics. Do comics have ISBN numbers like novels do? And if so, do you buy your own or let Amazon assign one?
I'll go ahead and handle that one too, I guess, unless you guys want to. No, they don't use ISBNs. That's unless you're going to give a copy. You might do that if you're doing a graphic novel and you're going to give a copy to a library and you want to get it into a library. You might want an ISBN for it. But for regular standard floppies, it's just a UPC number because they need that for point of sale stuff and to track it. And so standard UPC will work. Sometimes you'll get the other number. The UPC is the long one. The smaller barcode is that's for the publisher. That's for the publisher's information and maybe the stores. But the UPC is what is actually needed. I personally buy all of the ones that we're going to need. There's plenty of companies out there that can buy that. You don't need to buy your own barcode like UPC. Generating account because that's extremely expensive. As a self-publisher or an indie, someone or a small publisher, what you can do is you can actually go purchase things like from barcodes.com, things like that. You buy barcodes and then they're registered to you, and then you can keep track of them. So for instance, as our kind of like beginning pack, Terraform Comics, I went and bought 50 UPCs for Terraform Comics. Was one of the first things I did. It was registered under Terraform Comics LLC. And so it's really exciting because now we can have up to 50 products right now that are all, we have barcodes for 50 different products. And so it's pretty neat. But you do need a barcode for anything that's going to be sold retail because that's the difference. Barcode is for retail if it's going to be sold, and the ISBN is for kind of like a different kind of tracking. I've never really gotten into that. My wife, who's a librarian, would be able to really explain all of that to everyone, but you do not need an ISBN unless you plan on really the library is what really needs it for me anyway, for what we do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can amplify on that a little. Or Rob, go ahead. I saw you had your hand up.
First off, if you could share your screen, I'm trying to get the comment in there. There's an actual really good book for legal advice. That every creator should own. You should read it cover to cover. As boring as it might be to you, it really does give you a lot of information. Just to quickly, she asked about Amazon. Yes, Amazon will put an ISBN on your actual book. I've had it done in the past when I've had my books through Amazon. If they're printing it, mind you, if they print it themselves, they will assign you an ISBN. Otherwise, you don't need one on it. If you're giving your own comics, like Luke said, the UPC will take it. Or even if they don't have a UPC, they might put a sticker on it for an ISBN. But I assure you they'll charge you for that. And that's just a tracking number for them, basically. Mm-hmm. Diamond used to do that. Diamond would actually charge you to put their actual UPC to track your book if you didn't have one.
Wow, I didn't know that. See, we all learn stuff here. I will say that I put my own UPC on my paperbacks simply because I'm paranoid. And I don't want to wake up one day and find out that Amazon has changed their terms of service to where they get a bigger slice of the pie and more rights than they really are due. But that's me. But anyway, great, Rob. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate your finding that. So let's see. Let's go back. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Teresa Dunn asks, I am self-publishing my second book. I have no experience in this. Should I specifically talk to anyone special?
If you're self-publishing, I don't understand the question. You only have to.
She's looking for, I guess she's looking, should she try this alone, or should she look to somebody who maybe can help her through the intricacies of publishing?
I mean, you can speak to this more, but from what I've investigated over the last few months, because I have my first novel coming out, and the fact that I did have an offer back when I was 16 decades ago, I can tell you the one change I saw is no one's really trying to help anyone. They want you to pay to play. It is better, in my opinion, again, this is not legal advice, in my opinion, to crowdfund it yourself, put it out there, get it on Amazon, build a following, then try to pitch it to someone. Show that you've already been able to establish a fan base. What do you think, Brian? Because this is more your area than mine.
Yeah, I'm going to, since I don't want to say it out loud, because this is a secret, there is a place that can help you. Okay? But nobody knows about it. Okay, so it's just for the clever title pending people. It's called Ghoul.com or something like that. I don't think anybody goes there.
Go-Ogle.com.
Go Ogle. Yes, Go Ogle. It's not a dino porn site or anything. Somebody's gonna say it. It might as well be me. But yeah, that or YouTube. There are plenty of people. Plus, whatever platform that you publish on will have information, and usually a like a chat room of sorts where you can ask a question of people and get some immediate answers. So, but I'm sure that if anyone has any questions, anybody on this panel can answer them and would be more than happy to. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's another. And yes, Meredith, I'm sorry.
No,
yes.
Well, what I was going to say is that I actually self-published through Smashwords, and they have a really good guide as far as formatting your stories and everything, and they kind of walk you through it as long as you follow the steps, and it's really not that difficult. So and that's available in digital through Kindle, Barnes and Noble. I mean, a lot of different places. So it's an option. Don't be afraid to try something new, because also if you're self-publishing, you're not really worried about breaking a contract with anybody, and you're kind of doing it on yourself. It's all on you. So if you get to a point where you don't feel confident and you need somebody to maybe hold your hand a little bit, then you reach out. But really try and stay away from the people who require you to pay first. That is the biggest red flag that you can have, is if somebody says, well, we'll publish you, but you have to pay us $500, run away.
There's a lot of companies out there that are pay to play kind of publishing things, vanity presses. One of them that comes to mind now is Tape Publishing. Tape Publishing also had a music side of things. And so my band was actually contacted by Tape Publishing, and they offered all these different things, but they said in order to get the ball rolling, you have to give us $500. And so, we were young and naive. And so we gave them $500. And then there was this class action suit where everyone got some money back, because they had been selling our record and had not produced anything for us whatsoever outside of, we even provided our own recording on that one. So yeah, there's so much stuff that you can do. Look at somebody else that has done it. And most of us on this panel right here, we're more than happy to give you advice on that, because even though we've started our own publishing company, it's not everyone needs a publishing company. They just don't.
Yeah, that's true. And also a lot of the services that a lot of these pay for play people offer can be purchased by you at a more reasonable rate. Even somebody who can upload the thing for you. But always be careful to make sure that you see a lot of these places that will do all these services for you, the so-called vanity press, will also try to take your copyright away or tie it up so that they have control over it. And you don't want that. You always want to have control or a way to regain it past a reasonable amount of time. So again, whenever you get a contract, always contact somebody that knows how to read them, especially if they're a lawyer. They may be a little expensive, particularly in the copyright field, but they will save you so much grief and money in the long run. Cindy Kemp says, if the books are copyrighted already, do I need to redo the copyright if I republish it?
Not if you own the copyright.
Okay. Well, no, because Luke, wouldn't the the barcode or the ISBN and all be registered to the previous publisher?
It's not part of the copyright. UPCs don't go into copyright.
Yeah, no,
Right.
just the product itself.
But
I was going to say the copyright itself is for the content, but as for publishing, then usually a publishing house, like you can take your story to another house, but you would probably be assigned a new ISBN.
Yeah.
now
Because it is basically a new edition. Yes, Rob.
I'll say this again, like Brian said, I'm not a lawyer. My understanding of copyright, the only reason you would have to change the copyright is if you did not put the copyright in. If they put the copyright in, or you registered them as part of the team of the copyright, or you are trying to change someone's permissions. However, you do not resubmit to a copyright. You call the copyright office, you tell them you have to update your file, and they will tell you the steps that you have to take. You cannot resubmit because it's designed to hit. They have computer programs now that basically look for the same thing. So if it's the same story, that's the whole point. The computer program will flag it and you'll never get through. I had a point where I had two different publishers, two different accounts for the Library of Congress, and they called me up and said, hey, are you this same guy? They figured it out without me telling them. And I said, yeah, I lost my password. They're like, well, we have to combine you the same thing because this is going to cause you a red flag. There are a lot more on top of it than you realize. And they combined my two accounts. I have one account. I have, I believe at this point, 8 copyrights. And once you copyright a character, you don't have to copyright every book after it. You can if you're introducing new characters, because that's a slippery slope. But if you can prove it goes back to the original concept, you're fine. So you'd have to make major changes or have not been listed as the full owner to have to worry about changing the copyright. UPC and ISBN, you can put it in with the copyright, but they don't actually register. That's a retail sector thing. That's different agencies that do that. And a lot of times people will be careful of the UPCs because some people are buying UPCs that are actually not for sale. You're buying something that's already been used and it's never going to work the way you want it. So only buy from reputable merchants.
Right. Like what is it? My Barcodes or whatever. Also, Browker and myindicators.com. That's who I get mine through. So Cindy says I think the magic number is 35. Almost had to employ that when a now defunct publisher was messing with the authors. Well, that's a rough way to learn things, unfortunately. So, I'm sorry, Rob.
I was going to say, I know that because I'm listening to the history of comics and they were going over how much everyone ripped each other off. And there's this one moment where there's always court cases, but I think the very first court case with it said it have to be identical because there's parity, there's all that. So I don't know how they do the percentage scale, to be honest with you, but yeah, it's around 35%, something like that. To do plagiarism, you have to word for word or take exactly like, you can't change Dennis the Menace's pants and call him Dennis Le Menace and just have him to have a different pants color and then tell the same story. That's not going to fly.
Yeah, and there is such thing as fair use, which covers basically review and parody and things of that like, but that has its own set of guidelines too. So, and Michaela Jade is confused. ISBN numbers aren't copyrights, are they? But we have educated Cindy Kemp to the point where she has leaped in for us and said ISBNs, no, are an ID number for retailers. Copyrights are official dating and ownership. Very good, Cindy. Graduate head of the class. And Carl Wisman's just a little keystroke behind. And here is Rick Bradley, who says, so since I'm going to want to publish some anthologies, should I get an LLC for now, just publishing my own stuff? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
But is this anthology going to have other people? Rick, answer that, because that would be how I'd answer that. Yeah. I need to know if you're going to be allowing other people to bring in their original properties. And then are you going to do the steps of actually creating a business? Are you going to really make it a publisher? Are you going to invest the time and energy? Or is this just a project you're doing? This is just a project you're doing. You can literally write a contract that says, hey, I am taking it under consideration that you own this. This is an original idea. However, if this is not, and there's a legal precedence, you are now signing that you will take full responsibility for anything and everything that happens in a legal court. So what we did with the Advocator when I wrote a contract for the Advocator, and it's what other places do. Just wash your hands of it. Unless you're going to be doing a lot of them, never touch what you don't have to touch. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to be like, Vince McMahon or any other billionaire. Do what you need to do to survive, not what other people are doing to look big. So always ask yourself, is it worth the money?
And I wanted to turn the question actually to Brian, because with the Nightmare Collective, you have an anthology, you have a bunch of authors who are, throwing their work into one book. And, so if you could explain to our audience, how that worked and stuff, because, with the LLC comes the legal protections for the publisher. But if it's your own stuff, you don't have to really worry about that so much.
Not really. The publisher, usually when I submit a story to another publication, I have a contract with them that spells out what my rights are. And sometimes the publisher may assume the copyright, but then I have various rights that I still retain, and that's hammered out between us. Or in the case of most of the books I've been associated with, the publisher copyrights the entire package, but legally we still own our own individual stories. And it's spelled out, how long we allow them to publish it. This gets into a whole different area of like publication rights, like you hear about first North American publication rights, first European reprint rights, et cetera, first translation rights, which can get kind of complicated. But for simplicity's sake, let's just inform everyone: the minute you create anything, whether it's art, visual art, or it's words on paper, or ones and zeros that look like words in your screen, or music, you automatically have a copyright on it. Now, you want to register it in the event that you are plagiarized, or that some sort of court action you think may happen in the future, or if only just to protect your own rights down the road, because laws can change. So, again, talking to a real copyright lawyer is very helpful, but most of the time you'll get a contract that will explain what your rights are. So, but you already have that copyright just by the act of creation. Carl Witzman goes on to say, but I think that Amazon or Lulu assigning an ISBN to your work is all for the publishing date of your work and helps in a copyright battle somewhat. I would say that's true. But it's just, you could do the very same thing. Plus, there are, and I'm going to jump ahead in this because I do know that, at least in the case of books, there are some retailers who refuse to buy from Amazon. And when they see Amazon or any of its subsidiaries like Kindle Direct Publishing as the official owner of the ISBN number, then they're going to run away from that. So that's why a lot of people go to other platforms like Ingram Spark or Smashwords or whatever to purchase copies of the books. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Now, Bill Sarn has one here. If I would create an original character, what would I do aside from having to go through a copyright office to protect my creation? Now, Luke and Robin, you've got characters, and Meredith is currently working on her first comic script. But, she also does podcasts and stuff, which are very original, and I will insist that she promote them later on in the show. But anyway, what if you come up with, let's call it the next Superman? How would you protect it?
Copyright, yeah. You can, yeah, you copyright the character, you trademark the name. So the trademarks are very expensive, by the way.
Yeah. That's
trademarks
true.
are very expensive, by the way. But yeah, copyright it. You can do the, until you get the copyright back officially, you can do the poor man's copyright. You can, you post it in a some kind of digital format on your website or something like that. It gives it at least a digital stamp until you get your copyright back, but definitely file the $55 for it. Yeah.
Yeah. which means you'd pretty much have to create a tangible form of your idea. Whether you and Bill, you're an artist, so you got it easier than everybody but Luke, pretty much. So. All right, and Eric Hawkins, I'm putting this up here because Eric is going to join me at Indie Event this coming weekend. He's going to be with me on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central, and we're going to talk about his amazing creations and our collaborations, and he's going to be a lot of fun. And Michaela Jade is grateful to us, and there we go. You're welcome. Dave Woodrum has joined us, and here we go. I can't even stand pay-to-play video games, let alone publishers, says Rick Bradley. And now here's a reprobate here. I don't know. Anyway, Rob AnderSIN has a link. I take it that's to that the site we just saw with the copyright book. Okay, great. So definitely check that out, folks. Thank you, Rob. That's a great help there. And now here we go. Cindy Kemp says $500. Shoo! Tate wanted $5,400 to publish one of her books. She dodged that bullet because, as a public teacher, recovering now, didn't have anything like $5,400. That is outrageous.
That is robbery, is what that is.
Yeah, Jesse James rode a horse. Now, have you guys had any experience with whatsoever with the Vanity Press at all?
Just the one that I just had talked about with Tate Publishing.
Yeah. Now, Meredith, has anyone ever approached you and said, "Hey, we can make your publishing dreams come true for only $15,000, but we got to keep the rights forever"? Probably tell them where to go too. Yeah. How about you, Rob?
I don't know. I agree with all you guys. This is not a hard one to really deal with.
Yeah, that's true.
But, some people, I mean, they exist because people fall into the trap.
Well, everyone's hungry. It's like Kickstarter. You launch a Kickstarter, you get 15 people telling you how they can get your book funded. If that were true, no one would ever fail funding.
Yeah. And honestly, it's kind of funny you mentioned Kickstarter because I have my little anthology, which, by the way, I still haven't published yet because I decided that I was going to take a bunch of the stories out of it. Don't yell at me, Brian. Don't.
I didn't. I just waved my finger at you.
Because I decided that there are a lot of stories in there that I actually might want to convert into comics. So do I want to save it for that, or do I want to actually publish the anthology? I haven't decided yet, but it's just about ready to go. Having said that, I had never done a Kickstarter before. So as a writer of stories, not comic books, I launched one. It wasn't successful. I didn't really market it, and I think I did it more for the experience of it. And a few people pledged, and I thought that was pretty cool. And trust and believe that I was hitting the F5 button. But, it was one of those things where I wanted that experience, but I didn't have high hopes for success anyway. Having said that, I wouldn't pay somebody who was hawking their services. And I was getting, I can't even tell you, for my little nothing of a Kickstarter, I must have had at least 20 people approach me that they would make it successful. I'm like, yeah, you want to make it successful? How about throw $1 at it then? I mean, how stupid do you think I am? But people fall for it.
Yeah. That's the problem. And, I got, when I started publishing 8 years ago, I got approached by a number of people, but fortunately I'm stubborn enough and had reasonable assumptions that I could get the hang of this stuff. So yeah, whenever somebody demands that you throw money at it, think 4 or 5 times before you give into it. Dave Woodrum, who is a game publisher, says my industry is a little different. But I just went ahead and did it. Probably not the smartest option. Well, that's true of most of us. But I just decided I'm opening shop and did with an electronic download market, and I'm sure the same with print on demand. It's very doable. That's true. That's true. That's the nice thing about, I think, the current technology, in that it's kind of democratizes the publishing process. I mean, 30 years ago, only the big publishing houses pretty much knew how to do this correctly. But now the information's out there on the interwebs, and now we all have an opportunity to find that information and possibly capitalize on it, make some coin on it. Carl Witzman says vanity presses can also do a very bad job of editing, printing, binding, and all kinds of other ways. We had a friend who did that, and the final book had pages all mixed up and unreadable. That's another thing that you are sometimes buying their lack of ability. So it's good to vet these guys. Something I do when I'm approached by somebody like that, or when one of my friends are approached, I tell them, do 2 searches on Google. One is the name of the company and reviews. And read the reviews. Do all the good reviews come from that website? Red flag. Is there a mixture of reviews? Possible red flag. And then do the same search, but instead of reviews, substitute the word scam or ripoff and see what pops up. So that is how I vet them. And I've seen some really bad ones. I saw a book last year where he let somebody do, he paid somebody to do his book, and I couldn't even tell what genre it was from the cover. And also you should be able to get your books at a wholesale rate from these outfits so that you can sell them at a profit. They sold him his book at the exact suggested retail price.
Yeah.
And then to piggyback off of that too, is when you have those vanity presses and stuff, a lot of times they have the people who are involved in the team. So do a Google search on the editorial team. Do they have a history? A lot of times, quite honestly, I really believe that they're scams. They're just out to get your money. They don't read your book. They don't care. They because they didn't put the passion into it that you are in your own work. And so they are profiting off of you. And then not only that, they're saying, okay, well, you pay for it. And then, some of them have the nerve to say, well, they ask you, what's your social media presence? Like, wait a minute. You're the one who's supposed to have the social media presence.
That is really how they hook you, Meredith.
Yeah.
That's how they hook you, because they promise you sales.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If anybody promises you sales, we're going to sell a minimum of this, they're absolutely lying. You can't promise a number of sales, but that's how they hook you, because they say, we've got this outlet, that outlet, this outlet, so we're going to be able to sell and push your product. And they're absolutely lying. They will list them. You can actually, and for most of these vanity presses, you can list all of your products in the exact same places that they list them and do the exact same amount of work that they do to sell it, which is nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you can list this stuff on all of the different retail outlets yourself and do even a little bit of promoting, and you're going to make more money than what these vanity presses will do.
Exactly.
And what I'm really frustrated is that if you as a creator are taking the time to create this stuff, why wouldn't you put as much time into vetting where you're going to publish, or put in the time to promote yourself? I think that's one of my biggest frustrations, because I've been doing marketing. I do the social media stuff, and it's not easy, and it does take a lot of time. Anything worth value does, in my personal opinion. But if you feel that much and you want to get the word out, then it helps to have a network. It helps to do the work. Go out there, push the button, share other people's work. When you're doing that,
they will turn around and go, who's this person? Who's advocating for me? Oh, they have quality work. They seem like a nice person, and sometimes it's not even the product. Sometimes it's not even the book. They connect with you and it's like, oh, I want to help you, and so you put that effort into it as well.
Very good. Very good. And Dave Woodrum says, I've had vanity outfits approach me and don't even know what I write because they call it my novel. He writes games. So there's the clue. I had to laugh. I'm already published. That's how they found me. I'm already making money. Why do I need them? I didn't even bother to respond. Rick Bradley says, by the way, I backed your Kickstarter just a couple hours ago. Yay. Thank you very much, Rick. Rob, you want to take a moment and tell us about your brand new Kickstarter, if you're there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just running around with getting some stuff with Jackson stuff.
Promote yourself, young man. That's what Meredith said to do.
It's just it's a lot of my earlier work. A lot of stuff you wouldn't expect from me, considering I now create fetish monsters and more. It's a very politically driven story about the New York Reporter. It's actually set up like an actual newspaper, believe it or not, because I have no skill in drawing. And then it goes on to the next thing I did, which is I actually drew something because the artist flaked on me and I was determined to do it. I just had major back surgery. I couldn't bend at all. So I drew something like this, basically, with my hand this close to me because I could do no bending, which you got Gothic Blue, and I used action figures to create something else. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information. This is why I did it. This is the story. This is how it came to be. We're going to have stories that we've all had it in the industry of comic books where you start working with someone and then the artist flakes out and suddenly you just have this unfinished work. I could never put that out unless I had a book where it's like, hey, look at my journey. And there's other creators who have done it during their journey. Will Eisner's got earlier works. A lot of people like to put out their earlier works, especially because I do a lot of educating while I'm on the road. And people actually really like the New York Reporter because it's got a lot of story. I kind of did the tell it in because it's not just headlines. I actually write real newspaper articles that go along with setting up the entire city that my character was supposed to take over that it never did. And I jokingly was saying today on my live video, which I do You're Not Alone every day around 8 o'clock, I said, I read it recently and I was amazed at how much I really described 2020. There's so many things that seem like 2020. And ironically, the year that it was originally supposed to be was 2020. So I was like, maybe I should have just written down the winning lottery numbers and given myself a date, and that way that could have been better. But it's an exciting journey. You guys get to see new and old. I went with a lot of the underground comics. I went with old lettering styles deliberately to match different time periods for underground comics, kind of history back to the thing. You guys, there's a couple stretch goals I have in mind. I'm really excited about it. I don't expect to make a lot of money because I'll be honest, a lot of the work is amateur. Some of it's unpolished, like I would put out now. This is not a reflection of my current skill level. In fact, when I relettered something, I wanted it to match the book instead of making it look out of place. I did more lettering techniques I did back when I was a younger letterer. Because I decided I was going to be like, the new Neil Gaiman. I was going to be the new, cool, trendy guy. I was going to change how things were done. And I found out really early on you can't really do that when no one knows who you are. They just don't think you know what you're doing. And I learned very quickly I could letter like anyone else and no one would bother me. There's a lot of uncredited work I have in comic books fixing other people's mistakes in lettering that you would never know I did. That's how good I am. That's how you know you're good, when you can go over someone else's work and fix it and no one ever notices that you did. So I appreciate that, man. You're awesome for backing it. I really hope you enjoy it. I can't wait for you to read it and give me some feedback on what you think of my earlier work, because everyone who's read my earlier work is always surprised. And I warn you, a lot of it's a lot darker. This is definitely a darker side to my writing. And I know Brian's read a couple of things coming out from the novel, and the first time he read something, he's like, "You really are a dark bastard." Like, one of the things I wrote.
That's a quote. I think that's a quote.
Dark bastard. I'm like,
and he just glowed when I told him that. Rob, what's the name of it, and on what platform can anyone else find it?
Kickstarter. I made it real simple. Its title is The Written Sins Volume Number 1. So every year we're going to do a sin. and no one's really asked this. You're going to be the first one to ask the question. I'm going to let you ask. Ask me what sin this year is.
What is this year's sin, Rob?
Well, the book is called Written Sins Volume 1, The Comics Devil's Tales. So what would it be? It's, of course, pride, because it's the book entirely about me. So the entire first volume is about my earlier work. So it becomes about pride because I'm putting out my own stuff. Written Sins is, of course, my publishing thing. This is something we were talking about doing years ago. The reason we didn't launch with everyone's anthology stories like we wanted to is I wanted to do something special with 2020. And I figured putting myself out, using the pride sin, this will be the pride one, you know. The other one's going to be a problem with sloth, but I'm going to put that off to the end. Get it? Get it? I'm going to put it off.
I saw what you did there. So everyone run. It's okay if you ignore us just long enough to go back that on Kickstarter right now. So speaking of art, I'm sorry?
Real simple. Find it at writtensinscomics.com.
There you go.
There you go. I'm redirecting I shut my entire Written Sins Comics shop down so you can get it through that Kickstarter. And now we can go to Indiegogo because we've officially funded. So I had an oopsie moment. I made it 50 instead of 500. It's not a horrible oopsie number. If you're going to make a mistake with funding goals, it's better to go wrong the one way than the other way. So it was supposed to be a $500 goal. It's now a $50 goal. But at least
you funded.
And I didn't make it a $5,000 goal by accident. That would suck. Because then I'd be on this show with a can in my hand with a couple of hands going, help me, sir.
Well, when I saw the $50 goal, I was just like, damn, Rob. It's like not too much confidence there. What the hell?
Times are tough. I got to do what I got to do. I'm out there hustling on the street. I'm watching windshields. I just have to stop doing it at parking lots. I keep forgetting someone's got to be in the car to get the money.
So when somebody knocks at your door and it's Rob AnderSIN, please give generously, okay? And Rob mentioned flaky artists, and here's Eric Hawkins. Hi, got it. Googling Brian K. Morris scam. Whoa, that is a lot of results. And Rick Bradley said, I did that, Eric, and lost my internet signal for a bit. As well, you should. Anyway, Cindy Kemp has a great suggestion here. Predators and Editors is a handy site, or was. Haven't used it lately. There are several websites that are out there that talk about, basically predators in the publishing business, and that is an excellent one. I think with Predators and Editors, the lady who was running it passed away a few years ago, and so other people have picked it up. But you can also get it it's kind of like a digest in your email. But yeah, do that. And I think Predators and Editors links to several other sites that are very useful. But basically, I guess our message is keep your wits about you. Let's see, David Atkins. I have warned so many people about paying for publishing. People still fall for it. You can only do so much against these scammers. That's very true. Eric Hawkins, artist being flaky, never came across that, and he mocks us with his laughter. Evidently, he doesn't own a mirror. Also, never ever pay an artist until they are finished with what you hired them for. And this is true because I am, I hired Eric 2 years ago. And I never paid him. But anyway, so I'm glad I'm following his suggestions. Anyway, here we go. Rick Radley says, I love dark humor. Some of the best stuff ever. David Atkins says, the most scary thing is the quote, I will wait for the movie. Now the way most respond to books, unless you're well known. All politicians make a book and get sold out. Stupid, he says. Yeah, that's true. Now, I will say one thing with, Terraform. A lot of people do ask us, which for those of you who came in late is the publishing concern that we all represent here. A number of creators do have their eye on Hollywood, but and maybe you guys would want to talk about it from your own individual perspectives, but we're not really looking for to see which one of us gets to accept the Oscar that year, are we?
Not really. And I mean, it's not a bad thing to think in terms of movies, motion pictures. I mean, the reason why Jack Kirby's work was so dynamic is because he actually looked at them like storyboards for movies, but which is really, really a cool thing. But it's still its own storytelling medium. And we don't want people that just want to get to Hollywood. We want people that really have a passion about that method of storytelling, because there's still things you can do in comics you can't do on TV. There's still things that there's people that read comics that want good material, new material. And I just read an article about that today. Somebody from Netflix was like, the comics were, they're not just a springboard into movies and TV and streaming. They're their own medium. So,
yeah. I read that article. That was a good one.
Honestly, as the comic noob, some of the stories that I have are only for comic books. And I'm a visual thinker. A lot of times when I visualize a story, whether it's a novella, something longer, maybe even flash fiction, I see it in my mind. I can picture it on a screen. But these stories are actually, when I imagine them, I try to imagine them as panels. And could they be translated? I mean, sure, they started off as stories and things. But for me, this journey is actually to learn the art of it, as well as the business side of things, because I love small businesses. I love to see how they work and, the things that make them profitable, the things that make them successful. I think that the true test for us, for Terraform Comics, is withstanding the test of time. If we can make it past the first year, if we are putting content out, if people are buying it, if we are staying relevant in this sector. But as a creator, and I said this before on a different show, probably my own, I don't even remember. Just because I have a story and because I'm part of this group doesn't guarantee that my story is going to be published by this group, because we have kind of a higher standard, and we have a group of people who really want to look at the quality of things. And it's not based on genre. It is based on the quality of writing, the quality of the art, putting that all together, and then having that, just the willingness as a creator to hear some of the feedback and either take it and trust and believe that, when we collaborate and we talk about certain projects, whether they're in-house or, whether it might have been a submission. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but when we're looking at that, we all have a point of view. We bring it to the table, and we make decisions based on that. And again, as a creator of stories and things and working on my first script, just because I'm in the group doesn't mean I'm guaranteed a spot. And that makes me feel like I want to work harder. That makes me feel like I want to be, I'm motivated to do quality. I don't want to feel like I was handed anything. I want to earn it. And that makes me feel, I feel better about my own work. If I can take pride in it and say, oh, well, and I can be bullheaded too. I can say, oh, well, you didn't like it. And I can get all butthurt and stuff and publish it anyway. And, screw you guys. But, but at the end of the day, I'm open to feedback. That's what I want to hear. I might not listen to everything that you guys have to say, because maybe it is creative differences, and I know that it's not the end all be all as far as the creator. It's like, because you have a recommendation doesn't necessarily mean it jives with my vision either. And so as long as we are open to dialogue and stuff like that, I think that's really one of the things that I love about this group.
And I've got to say that, the critiques that we've done with submissions have been pretty thorough, I think. And that's one thing about Terraform. If you go to terraformcomics.com, we do have a submissions process. The window is closing soon. I
It's closed,
understand.
actually. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I
Forget it. You had your chance. Okay. Screw you all. But anyway, yeah. Okay, forget that.
surprise.
Yeah. Mostly to me. I gotta attend the meetings more often. But anyway.
No, I got the note, and I killed the submissions page today because I do the web design on that page too.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, I bet that broke your heart. Anyway, Rob, anything to add to this?
I think Meredith covered it really well. I don't want to step on her toes. I think she did a great job. What can I add to that? She did great.
She's awesome. Yes, she is. Now, I did, mention the submission process, and granted, the window is closed. For somebody that wanted to, when the window reopens, okay, what in your opinion would be the top 2 or 3 things a contributor, whether it's art or whether it's story, could do to improve their odds of acceptance? And this is probably true of anyone else. Yeah, okay. The next 4 hours will be taken by Mr. Luke Stone.
Just follow the instructions. If we ask for something, if we ask for a synopsis, we ask for an elevator pitch, we ask for samples of pages that are complete, just do that. Don't give us more, don't give us less. And that goes for anyone that's accepting submissions anywhere. Go to their submissions guidelines, look at what they want, send it to the place they've asked you to send it, and send exactly what they've asked you to send. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and theirs.
I think I just kicked open. Yeah, I was gonna say I think I just kicked off the lock on the Pandora's box with that one. Meredith, do you have anything to add to that? That's great advice, though. It is great advice, Luke.
No, it is great advice. No, I don't really have anything to add to that.
Rob?
It's just about putting out quality comics. Focus on that. If you're a creator, focus on putting out a quality comic and then submit it. And if you don't get approved, or I'm going to turn the camera. I'm not trying to be rude, guys. My computer's having trouble, so I'm trying to paste this.
I understand. We understand.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just trying to stress here, do quality stuff. Always pay attention to what you're doing. Be respectful of other people. And if you get denied, take it and go away. That's it. Yeah. Respect the fact that you might not fit their particular sleeve. You don't know what else they have that might compete with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I do have something to add. I can't even tell you how many times where when I was editing something, and when you're in a specific genre and somebody sends you something that is totally not in that genre, and it's like clearly stated. Now the thing is, with Terraform, we don't have genres. We're basically taking the story for quality and content and stuff, and also trying to get to know the creator. So we're not so worried about that. But if you are a creator and you are planning on submitting anywhere, please take a look, because you're not going to submit a horror to a romance agent or a publisher, because as soon as they see that, they're going to say either this person's really stupid, or they don't care, or they don't respect me as an editor, agent, publisher, whatever. So please do your homework, do your due diligence, look at the guidelines, look at who you're submitting to. I mean, it's not a cattle call. Put in the work, put in the time to find the best fit for your work, period.
I would also add that, if you have something that you created, say back when you were in 7th grade and you're now like 20 years out of college, take another look at it and figure out, please, for the love of God, and please figure out why it maybe you didn't send it out at the time, but if you did send it out, think about why it may have gotten rejected and fix those problems, because hopefully in that time you've become a more skilled creator. And, you should always approach a publisher with your A game. don't say, here's something I published on a mimeograph machine 30 years ago. And I've learned to draw a lot better since then. And I write like, the Herman Melville of comics, but I'm sending you this old thing I've got. I want you to publish it. Doesn't work that way. If you're going to do that, then just publish it yourself. Yeah. But otherwise, I think you guys gave some really terrific advice here, and I appreciate that.
And yes. To back off of that for you, sorry, Brian.
No, I'm sorry.
You know that whenever we create something, it's never perfect. I mean, we can go back and we can edit it to death. I can't even tell you how many stories I've killed because I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. So yeah. you know this pain. So if you've got something that's been sitting there collecting dust and maybe nobody picked it up, what makes you think that it's any better now? I think it's okay to have that separation of time so that you have fresh eyes on it and maybe a new perspective because you're older, maybe wiser, hopefully, so take a look at it, fix it up a little bit, then present it as something new. And you may get better results because of it.
Yeah. Send it around to some friends that maybe are fans of the genre or fans of comics, and see what they think of it. Very good advice. Very good advice. Cindy Cap says most artists I've worked with ask for a retainer up front because they've been burned by knuckleheads who have them do work but don't pay them for it, and then the rest later. That's valid, and that's the sort of thing.
Those.
Yeah, and why do you take a retainer now, Luke?
Well, because people will. Well, you could still take a retainer, and someone will want to back out on you. So now there's as a retainer and a signed contract that they don't get the retainer back. Because before it was just hey, take the retainer, get the work started, find out what the deadline is, produce before the deadline. Not anymore. Most people that do this for a living will do a retainer and a contract, and then the terms of, if the job needs to be canceled, how it will work and all those kind of things. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Cindy Cap says all of y'all have been strongly in favor of self-pubbing. What kind of pitfalls do noobs need to look out for? Who wants to start that?
Well, I mean, we addressed predators.
Yeah.
So let's just, put that off to the side. I think a lot of times is if we don't have the alpha readers and the beta readers and things like that, and sometimes we love our work so much that we don't see it for the warts and scars that it might have. And then we're brokenhearted when it doesn't sell or fly off the shelves, and maybe it gets bad reviews or doesn't get viewed at all. So, and I think these guys on the panel will tell you that it is worth spending a little money to get a good editor. Mm-hmm. And then while that person is doing the editing and you are working on your rewrites and stuff like that, build your own social media presence, because nobody will market you better than you. You're the one. This is your baby that you want to present to the world, and you want people to love it. They may or may not love it, but they may or may love you. And, they'll support you, and maybe they'll buy your book and stuff. And I know that sounds like a booby prize, because you want people to really love your work. But at the same time, people connect with people. That's my perspective. I don't know if these guys have anything to say about that.
No, I don't think I do. Rob or Luke, how about you?
Well, I do agree. Don't try to do it without an editor. You might be an editor, but you're going to overlook some of your own mistakes. You're too close to the project. It's kind of like there's this job in the music industry called a producer. And I helped a little bit. I produced a few things. And here's the one thing that really would happen. When I worked with the label, a band would come in and they would play, hey, this is my song. I'm like, okay, great. Well, we're going to provide a producer unless you have one in mind. Right. And so we would provide a producer, and the producer would come in and be like, okay, first things first, that chorus needs some work. They're like, whoa, what do you mean the chorus needs some work? Well, it needs some work. You want it to be good, right? Well, no, I thought it was already good. That's why we got the record deal. No, you have potential. That's why you got the record deal. We want it to sell records. We want it to play on the radio. We want people to be humming this thing in the car. So you got to do the work. And so a producer will go in and they will hack and slash your song. And about 9 times out of 10, when they do that, it's going to hurt and you're not going to like it. But as soon as they're done telling you how badly you suck and how you can be better, and you put that song back together with the way the producer has instructed you, you've got a song that's amazing. And that's happened to me. I've been on both sides of that. I've been produced and I've been the producer. And comics and writing is about the same way. And that's what an editor does. They say, look, this is really good. It's got a lot of potential, but here's where it can be better. If they don't hack and slash everything and like dissect the whole thing and make you rebuild the entire thing, then you're doing really darn good. If they're just saying, hey, this section needs fixed, or that chapter, or this, or whatever, take that criticism, because that really separates the professionals from the amateurs. Is you're not only your willingness to hire someone and pay someone to criticize you, but your response to criticism from a professional. That says the world about you. So if you're going to self-publish, and you're going to have it under your own name, a reason why a lot of independent publishers like that will lose credibility is because they do not edit. They do not have someone edit. They do not allow their work to be put under scrutiny by other people. And then when their book doesn't sell, they whine and moan and complain and cry. When you say, look, I'm gonna hire that editor, I'm gonna do that, you automatically get sifted to the top of the pile. It just happens.
That's true. Yeah, and I can say with Terraform, we had somebody who has like mainstream credit, as far as, being a writer for DC and Marvel. And he submitted his script to us, and we came back with areas we thought he needed to work on. He said, okay, fine, I will get busy on it. So that's the difference. Yeah, Rob?
In short, your ego. Make sure that you never let your ego run your business. Always be open, always listen, always be humble. Understand thousands of people before you have done this. So you're joining something. Earn your rank. Don't come in like you're the ruler of anything. You haven't earned anything yet. That's the worst thing about this industry right now for comic books. All these new creators think that they are owed something. You aren't owed anything. There is a long history of comics, over 100 years old, that you're just now joining. You haven't earned anything. You don't deserve anything. Keep your ego in check and earn your place in this industry.
There we go. And Sarah says, you're hysterical, Rob. You are amusing her. Nick Tucker says, if you build it, they will come. Well, yeah, but only if you tell people about it, and that's where promotion comes in. David Atkins mentions Rick Davis is a great career comic artist and personal friend. They discuss how bad people are tricked by commercials. You too can fill in the blank and know they are lying. That's pretty much the truth with the Vanity Press. And let's see. Eric Hawkins, what? I missed submission? Curses you, Brian. Curses you. Well, yeah, if you had an in somehow with this group, Eric, maybe we could talk about it, Now, the one thing is, I said that I haven't paid Eric, but on the other hand, I've led him to so much, paid work. He no longer has the time to work for me. So I think I've done all right by him. Rick Bradley, I was definitely thinking about submitting to Terraform, but I also decided that I should probably get some of my other things done. I'll get the next round. Well, that's valid. That is very valid. A great deal of what we do is time management. As far as professional writers, web designers, podcasters, publishers, editors. Did I leave anyone out? Probably did. But
comic book artists.
yeah, especially comic book artists, right? And writers. When did I say I'd get that script in? Anyway, and Dave Woodrum says, and you thought the submission page was down. Well, shows that I know. And Sarah's talking about exposure, and give what people want. Luke is right. Check out exactly what is requested. Rob is right too. Respect them. That's very true. And one of the things about submission guidelines is and this is kind of sneaky here, but it shows if you do the submission the way you were requested to do it, this shows you are open to direction, which means you're going to be easier to work with during the editing process. So it's kind of like a tricky way of weeding out the people immediately who can't follow directions. So, and I say that having violated every tenet in the original contribution I ever sent out. So I hear the stones whizzing through my glass house. Sarah says, I love how articulate each of you are and respecting each other. I love this panel. They're just concealing their deep-seated hatred for me, but I respect that too. So, yeah. And Rick Bradley says, what if it's a horror romance? I would look at that in a heartbeat.
I would too.
Seriously.
What is the one that Luke's always looking for? It's like the ninja zombie or something.
Robot
zombie ninja.
Ninja zombies.
I'm going to make this boy very happy in a few days. Let's just put it that way. All right. I'm very close to finishing the script now. Now that I've gotten through all the exposition, I'm getting to the fun parts to write. So Dave Woodrum says, I wrote the submission on the back of a cereal box, but it was the blank inside part. Well, yeah, definitely send that one to us. And we'll have someone that reads crayon get right on it, right? Horror romance. Nobody wants to read about my first marriage, says Dave Woodrum. Okay.
I have one of those too.
I got it right the first time. Now, Cookie may not feel that way, but I like that. David Adkins says, for anyone beginning with comics or writing, you need to follow all directions, editors' rules if you aren't self-published, and if you can't follow grammar rules, imagine a publisher's reaction. You are so right there. And, that's the thing, Luke and Meredith and Rob have mentioned editors. Even in comic books, there are professional comic book editors. Mm-hmm. And, like Chuck Pinault, I know he is a fantastic talent. Steve Cole, yeah. There are people in this industry that, that even at the independent level that can really help you with your work. And it might behoove some of you to send them your stuff and pay them. And get some perspective on your story. Carleen says, I had an author friend whose self-motto was, my words are written in jello, not stone. That's very good. I like that.
That's delicious.
Yeah,
especially the lime stuff, which has the
the lime stuff is terrible. I oftentimes will tell like Chuck when he's doing one of my books, I'm like, okay, I either I really like this or I just hate it, And most of the scripts, my first draft when I sent it to him was like, I kind of hate it, so let's just go at it, And so he'll just go and we'll go page by page and like, okay, well that needs to change or this needs to change, and be willing to change it.
Yeah.
So I'm working on my first script, and Brian knows because he's seen the first draft of it. And I said, you know what? Let me do a second draft because we had a chat about it. And I was feeling all good and gungy about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good. And then I think I got to like page 5 or 6. And I'm like, it's shit. It's all shit. And he's like, calm down. So he's talking me off the ledge. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm doing the second round of edits based on what he said. I'm like, let me just try this. Just try this. I am not a comic book editor. I know that I'm going to be passing this off to the next person. But, I'm at the point now where I'm kind of frustrated because I see it and I'm not quite there to articulate it. And I know I need that second or third pair of eyes, and I'm willing to do that. And I know that's part of the process. And I know that these are just feelings that I think, I hope all creators kind of go through. But, I'm at that point where I'm like, it's all crap. And maybe, the way things are with me, sometimes when I say that, it's not as bad as I think. And maybe, kind of going back to an old topic, Brian, that imposter syndrome, like maybe I'm not worthy, or maybe it's not good enough and stuff. And I have to quiet that voice, or I will never get stuff done. So, I mean, you can totally psych yourself out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Rob, did you have anything to say?
When you're creating something, create from the bottom of your heart. When you hire an editor, fight with that editor every step of the way. Ask them, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't this work? I have had editors, and I'd be like, that's not how humans speak. I don't care about your grammar in that moment. I'll take the hit. It's my name on it. That's bullshit. I would never say that. No human I know would say it that way. Stop trying to make it that way. This is the right way people speak. And I know I said that horribly, but it's true. We don't talk correctly. We don't talk like we're grammatically correct. I am very big with that. I mean, I have never had an editor go, hey, this story doesn't make sense. I've been very lucky that way. The points they always go is, hey, Rob, can we have him talk less? Because I'm a fan of the 1960s, 70s, and 80s when there was more dialogue. Even in the 90s at the beginning, there was actual stories instead of these pretty pictures. Look, I love art like the next guy, but you need a good story. A good story will keep you locked in. The people who read Barbara Unleashed are always amazed how in-depth that story is, how much it takes them out of their world. And that's what you got to create. You got to create something that inspires. So fight for your creativeness, but listen to why it's a mistake, and then go, okay, I can see that, or maybe you're wrong. That's not it. Always fight for what you create. If you're not going to fight for it, no one else will, and everyone will steamroll it. It'll be a piece of shit by the time it's done.
Good point, Rob. Very good points. I would also add, that maybe, he said be open to it. Maybe somebody will look at what you've done and said, well, here's where it needs some help, and and we hear that this show has gone to the dogs. I can tell already. But anyway, the idea is that figure out where your line in the sand is. There are some points where I will. I listen to my editors. I love my editors because I learn how to become a better writer in the process. But also, I think one thing that Rob kind of skirted here, or kind of hinted at, that vet your editor. Because some editors have specialties, like in regular publishing. Some editors are great at romance. Some are terrific at horror. So you give them your superhero story, and they may just I don't enjoy reading this sort of thing. I can't really comment on it because each genre has its own limitations and liberations in the storytelling process. So always vet your editor. Some can do it all. Some cannot. And yes, I'm sorry, I keep talking over people. My apologies.
No, I was saying we hate those kind of people, but we don't.
Only kind of, sort of. Well, and I have to say that even with my many decades of experience, God help me, I still get some stinging criticism, and then my editor's ears begin to burn, bust into flames, and I see you, Rob, and then then the next day I'm like, well, damn it, they were right. I better get busy. Rob, thank you for waiting. Rob, you're muted, I think.
Yeah, sorry. You want to be a beta reader? I know how to do it. It's really simple. Just tell people you want to review books, and they'll give you books that aren't ready for public consumption. You become a beta reader by just asking to review books. And then you have the complicated issue of, oh, this is like toilet paper. What do I tell them about this? This is horrible. Honestly, I feel like I want my life back. This is taken from me. So be careful what you wish for, my friend. Because trust me, half of the things out there, and it all comes down to this, kids, no one's asking an editor. No one's getting a professional look at it. No one's asking anyone else. They're asking mommy, daddy, their girlfriend, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. You got to ask your big sister. If you got a big sister who bullied you when you're younger, that's the person to ask what they think of your book. Because they'll just rip your heart out, put it on the floor for you, and tell you how much you suck. If you haven't done that, you don't deserve to sell your book yet.
Thank you, Dr. Tough Love.
I think Brian could speak to this also, is that don't mistake your beta readers as your editors either, please.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Although my beta readers, I am kind of famous for telling them my initial instructions are don't worry about my feelings, and I know that that is the one part they will follow. You know, I have been absolutely savaged by my beta readers, but they've all had great direction for me too. Eric Hawkins wants to know, but what if your editor owes you one? Do you still pay him? Well, we're not going to ask what he may or she may owe you, Eric. That's between you and the editor. But we are open to pictures. Anyway, you can, but sometimes the price is your human soul, but you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, Dave Woodruff says, I've had friends recommend that I branch out to posting product releases on Twitter. I have to admit that I've never seen the point of Twitter, but what's your recommendation? Also, is it really possible to make it worthwhile advertising through the Pinterest platform? Who's got what kind of promotion do you three do? Let's talk about that for a moment. I personally believe most promotions better than none at all. But what have you done to promote your work in the past?
You know, social media has become quite important, but I think you really have to know where your audience is. I think a lot of people make the mistake of just trying to blast it out on all networks when maybe that might not be necessary. You know, and it kind of goes against what I said about building your networks. That is important because numbers actually matter. And I couldn't even give you actual ratios, but it's almost like when you send out birthday invitations and things, you're only going to get a percentage of them back. And then you're always going to have the jerk that shows up that didn't RSVP, you know? So building up your social media is important. And the hardest thing, and I think the biggest frustration, and I know that Brian can speak to it, I don't know as far as comic books and stuff, reviews will get you a better position in the search engines, especially on Amazon. You know, I mean, that is just, if you can get people to read and review, that is gold. And then after that, it's really hitting the ground running and blasting it out wherever you can. Trying not to spam. Your mailing list is also super important. If you've got a website, build your mailing list because they might not see the ad on Facebook, but they're always checking their mail. You know, and be informative. But that would be like probably the biggest thing, though. I would say for writers especially is build your mail list.
Definitely. That mailing list is gold because if you sell something through Amazon, and I've never worked through Diamond, but what I hear is if, you know, like a shop buys your book, they're not going to tell you. And that shop is not going to give you the email address of everyone who bought your book at the store. So this is your direct link to your reader. And it's a way to, like, if you just do a newsletter every month, like I do, you get to have personal contact with your person. I don't have like the super gun show that the super sexy Rob AnderSIN has, but Rob, if you send him your email address, we'll probably send you pictures of his manly biceps. Rob, what do you do to promote yourself other than take off your shirt on social media?
I bust my ass. I show up anytime someone has a show and they'll have me. I get out there. I talk about comics. I'm supportive of other people. I'm reviewing books behind the scene. I'm shaking hands, kissing babies. I'm running for mayor and there is no city. I do everything I possibly can, and I don't complain about how hard it is. You'll never see me go online and go, no one likes my stuff. It is so hard to be me. You'll never see that. I'm a cripple. I am a single dad, and I'm out there doing more than all of you because what did you expect? Half of you show up and go, I made a comic. Where's my parade? Fuck you. Sorry. Seriously.
We have just crossed the FU line. Okay, go for it, Rob. You're unleashed. Rob Unleashed.
I start every morning looking at the comic book news. I talk to people. I answer every message I have. I answer the emails. I ask how I can help people. I get into meetings. I create comic books. I take care of my son. I feed my son. I go to do physical therapy. I'm doing all this while you're sitting around going, I don't know why my first issue didn't get taken up by anyone. I've been here. I've done one whole show, and I did a Kickstarter that I did not promote, and people didn't show up to. Do the work. There's a lot of work that goes into this. If you're not serious about it, then yes, team up with someone who can help you. I'll give you that advice. Find someone who's more talented than you and see if they can help you. I hang out with people who are smarter than me. That's why I'm here with Brian. That's why I'm here with Meredith and Luke. I want to be around people who are better than I am so I can become better. Make that your goal. Stop hanging out with your friends talking about politics. You don't know shit about COVID. Stop telling people about COVID. You don't know shit about democracy. You voted one time in the last 4 years. Shut up. Shut up. Talk about your comic books. Please, God, just stop. Stop.
Tell us how you really feel, Rob.
I thought that was pretty good for me. I thought that was pretty good.
You're pretty restrained there, Rob.
I could be PG-13 right now. I get excited. Like when people are like, how do you promote? You do the work. It's not rocket science. It's hard though. It's every day. It's engaging every day. It's talking every day. It's understanding your footprint every day. And it's about taking hits. People are going to say some mean effed up things about you, and you just got to take it. Sometimes people are going to lie about you, and you got to understand that's the price of admission. That's how you get to the next level. You just get beat up a bit. You keep fighting. Like Luke says, you keep hitting that wall. Every day you wake up and you hit that wall, and then one day that wall just breaks down, and then you can't stop. Then you got to work harder. You got to hit the next wall, and you got to hit the next wall. So remember, this industry, you go up, you come down, you go up again if you did everything right. If you didn't do everything right, then one time you go down, you never get back up. So behave yourself. Treat people respectfully. It's okay not to get along with everyone, but be respectful about it. There are a lot of people out there saying, Rob's mean. He says things I don't like. Well, what did he do to you? Well, he called me an idiot for what I believe. What did you believe? The earth is flat. Well, fuck you. The earth is flat. You said it. I mean, yeah, I know. What do you expect? You can take the devil out of his show, but you can't take the mouth out of the devil.
That's what we love about you, Rob. Now, if you want to hear some language, Luke, what do you think?
Well, you know, I agree with Rob, only in a more PG-13 kind of way. No, yeah, you gotta work, and you can't take no for an answer. You've got to have a tenacity about you when you're doing this. I think I heard you say it once on this show here. It takes years to become an overnight success. There's a lot of work that goes in there, and you don't be jealous of the people that have gotten there, you know, that are doing it, because they finally broke through it. You know, just keep working at it. Keep working at it. If you've done it for a long time and you still haven't made it, ask yourself, am I growing? Am I getting better? Be able to look at your stuff with a strong critique to say whether or not you are getting better at what you're doing. And if you are not getting better, then you should be. And in order to get better, you're going to have those people tell you, hey, tell you honestly, you know, don't get your mom to tell you, you know, oh, sweet, so good, so good. No. Get the honest critique, grow. And then, yeah, just like Rob said, get out there and work every day. You guys didn't know who I was probably until COVID hit, right? People were like, who's Luke? I don't know. But as soon as man, I got on every show. I was every show I could get on, and I'm still that way. Every show I can get on, I'm there. The only reason why I don't have my camera on right now is because as you see me talking, it would be really boring to look at the top of my head, because while I'm talking to you, I'm drawing books. I'm drawing a book, because you never stop working. Work. Just get it done.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And, you know, I always use the analogy of Michael Jordan, arguably the best basketball player who ever lived. Or, you can say that for Babe Ruth in baseball or whatever. You don't see all the practice shots they took. You just see, you know, the stuff that, you know, made it to the film, you know, to the newsreels. Stephen King, there was a time when Stephen King wasn't Stephen King, or Jack Kirby was still learning his anatomy. But you don't see that. And, you know, like Luke said, you know, persistence pays. and you just have to reassess yourself every now and then. Even now and then, I take a little checkup from the neck up and make sure I'm still on the right path. So, Cindy Kemp has a question. Are you familiar with Kindle Unlimited? I know some writers swear at it and others swear at it. Kindle Unlimited, for those who don't know, is a program from Amazon through their Kindle Direct Publishing program where you allow them to have pretty much exclusive rights to your ebooks. It doesn't really cover paperback so much, but I think I'm the only one here that probably has experience with it. It doesn't fit into my business model. I do better just teaching people how to, buy the whole book rather, but the thing is also you get you can get paid for page reads, for instance. And you get certain methods of promoting your book through Amazon where they handle a lot of the heavy lifting, but it never really worked for me. So I just sell them the whole book and call it a day. Rob, do you have an opinion on this?
I just heard swearing, and I thought that they were talking about me. I guess not. I'll just go back to
No, yeah, as you were. Shit, we weren't swearing. Anyway, let's see here. Cindy Kemp has a question. What are your opinions on sending out advanced reader copies or ARCs? I've heard that is the best way to get early reviews, but handing out for free seems counterproductive. Now, this is probably a Luke and or Rob question, I would think more, but Meredith is more than welcome to voice her opinion. Do you send out advanced copies of your work?
I absolutely do. Here's the thing. Yeah, you're giving 1 or 2 away, but I plan to give away about 25 to 30 copies of every book that I do. In fact, I print a couple extra ones, knowing on my large print runs, knowing that those are going to be comped, because I want people reviewing them and I want people reading them and talking about it, because that's the thing. It's word of mouth. I know that if I give away 25 or 30 copies of books to the right people who are going to talk about it, and I don't just give it to any just Joe Schmo. I give it to people that are going to review it and talk about it and spend some time with it, and they've got some influence. You give those people the right book and they start talking about it. They let people know about it. It can generate way more money in sales than what you've lost in comping those books. And so, yeah, I absolutely will comp books. And I think it's if you do it right, it's smart to add to your business plan.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because it's one thing to give out free books. It's another to have a target place to put them for the most impact. And so to what Luke was saying is that if he knows the 30 or so readers who are actually going to do a review, I was a reviewer. I used to get ARCs all the time from the publishing houses. I used to write reviews for Romantic Times, and so I would get them all the time. But that was because it was a high impact visual. They had their specific readers who would write reviews, and then it would go into the magazine, and boom. So it was worth it for the publisher to send those out to whatever magazines. Again, high impact. If you're just printing books and giving them away, and you don't have that sense of what's the word I'm looking for? If they're not going to follow through, then you are literally giving you're throwing money away. Mm-hmm. So I think it may behoove you to find that group, find that tribe of those readers who will actually follow through. And you have to vet them too. I mean, you're gonna kiss a lot of frogs before you find that prince,
That's true. That's true. Rob, did you have anything to add? I guess not. Anyway, Rick Radley would like to know, what about mentioning movies, other characters, or songs in your books? I know you can't do lyrics. That's true. That is a copyright violation there. I tend to keep those kind of references to a minimum myself, simply because I don't want to, peeve off a potential trademark kind of thing.
You won't get in trouble if you mention a Coke can. You won't get in trouble if you mention a song. You'll get in trouble if you print a song, if you print all the lyrics. If you say the character likes Nine Inch Nails, No big deal. People don't get sued over it. That's a false rumor. What it was is they could make money on it. And if they can't make money on it, why are they going to show it on their show? Because other sponsors don't like the fact that things show up in shows or comics for free, because now they charge for the spot. You're not going to get in trouble for mentioning it. But yes, mentioning lyrics, because that is plagiarism. Again, copyright material. That's the little bit of difference.
That's true. That's true. And Cindy Kep says here, a good editor will know the difference between dialogue and narration, but I've had that conversation with writers as an editor and with editors as a writer. That's true. That's true. And it all has to do with the flow and all. And Rob, you'll be glad to hear this. Yes, says Sarah, to Barbara Unleash, she continues to crave more.
So do I. Keep talking, Brian.
for anybody who hasn't read it, I highly recommend it. You know, I mean, you might think that it's all dirty and stuff like that. It really isn't. There is a powerful story behind that. So kudos to Rob for writing it. I wish that it had I wish that it was a little bit more popular than it is, because I think a lot of people shit talk it and never read it.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like I read it. Rob and I had words about it, because I hadn't read it, but I was going into the old mindset. Well, is this like a dirty book? But I read it, and the storytelling's very mature, and I don't find it. I think Rob did an excellent job of writing it in a way that is not this doesn't sound right, but not overtly titillating. He doesn't really appeal to your prurient interests. And look at him looking so satisfied down there. That it appeals more, like if you like character studies of an alternative lifestyle in a grown-up manner of presenting the story. I love Barbara Unleashed. I really do, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So take your victory lap, Rob. So Rick Bradley says, my editor for Marvin's Night Out was really great. She didn't destroy me. Well, give her another chance, but definitely let me know what was wrong and what needed fix. I plan on using her more. See, that's it. And developing a relationship with an editor is pretty important, I think.
Yeah, and being open to what she had to say. Yeah. Because you could have easily gotten all offended and everything and taken your book and huffed away.
It's true.
Like a big baby.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that sort of thing costs you jobs in the future. Because we talk to each other.
Pay your editor.
I love this question.
Yeah, here we go.
And I hate this question. I love it and I hate it.
Oh, Cindy, you have just pushed Meredith's buttons. It's joyous to watch. Anyway, how do you figure out what your audience? I write for genres, some hostile to others. And all of us pretty much work in different genres, don't we? So yes. The indie devil with his devilish tales and comics about all sorts of things. Okay, Rob, I see you bursting to answer. You may take the lead here.
What's a genre? Because I don't know what a genre is. I just write stories. How do I find my audience? I crowdfund. I put out posts about it. I share my art. I talk about it. I go on shows. I do interview. I do the promotion. I send out emails. I have an email list. I go to cons. I talk to people. I wear T-shirts everywhere I go. I wear a T-shirt to the gym every day, and every so often someone goes, hey, where's that from? And I go, guess what? It's from my comic book. That's where it's from. And then I hand them a card. Or if I don't have a card, I tell them to go to, comicbookadvocates.com. That's my site. Or go to writtensinscomics.com. You don't got to worry about finding your audience. You got to worry about going out there and being seen. Your audience will find you. Being seen is the problem. Being seen is what you need to be striving for, because you never know who your audience is until they show up. Trust me. I would have thought my audience would have been men. It's not. Women love my book. Women absolutely love the book. They come back for the other issues. They're my biggest fans. I get emails from women, not to say I don't from men, but they were my biggest one. I didn't expect that. And sure enough, that's what happened, because I was open and I didn't give. And I fight with Brian all the time, because Brian will say, well, Rob, you have to understand you have a niche market. I'm like, Rob, you have to understand that there's only certain people who read your book. Look at 50 Shades of Grey, 50 billion people. Bullshit. I want that. I want that. That's what I want. I will not accept that I have anything, and I never have. Never apologized. I've always promoted my book as it is, and have I made censors at Facebook tingle. Oh, they are so upset at me because I walk those lines like I am Johnny Cash. I am telling you, you got to go out there and you got to give it to everyone. Let them decide. Now, every so often, there's I wouldn't take certain materials to a family event. I would not take Barbara. I understand it. I understand that there are certain times that I can't have it out there. Same as I wouldn't take my children's book and put it front and center. Well, I could at a fetish convention because of the littles. But you get what I'm saying. But never limit yourself. Go out there and promote yourself. And never let them tell you what genre it is. You're a creator. You create shit. You just haven't gotten around to creating the other stuff yet. You're going to check every box.
See, now, Rob, you have the benefit of the personality and being at a con and talking to people and having that whole range of content. I kind of feel this with Cindy because, like my social media presence, for example, I have a lot of interests. I love writing romance and reading romance. I've written erotica, but I've also written like blockchain and boring tech stuff and geeky stuff and all this. And, so presenting myself out there is it feels like a hot mess because I don't fit into one category. Right. So how do I present myself? How do I be like, okay, well, I'm this, and then build on that when I have all of these other interests? And I have no interest at all in being put into a pretty little box on one little shelf, So, I mean, that's why I love this question and I hate it because it's something that I struggle with every single day. I finally gave up. I just finally said, you know what, screw it. It is what it is. I'm going to post what I like. If you don't like it, that's on you. That's not on me because this is me.
Oh, Luke, how about you? What have you got to say on this subject here?
Well, yeah, finding your audience. Here's the thing. First off, I think there's an audience for everything. I think, even if it is a small audience, you can still find an audience for it. But if you're into something, write about it. Write about what interests you. And then, maybe you'll find other people that connects to this community. I have no idea what that is even about. That's like, that's so far outside of, that's so far outside of my wheelhouse or my realm of interest. So I wouldn't even know where to begin to look for something like that. But, no, you lost. But when it comes to finding that audience, put yourself out there, get into the things that you like. Like, so for instance, hybrids, I thought, only like theology nerds and stuff like that would enjoy it. But, it turns out that anyone that has an interest in like these Nephilim creatures or Greek gods, everyone likes that stuff. So you know what I do is I go and I post about it on those forums, and I find YouTube videos that people are watching about those things, and I post about it in the comments. Like, hey, I wrote this book about this, and here it is. Here's a link to it. Find unconventional ways to market yourself, and I think that's important. I think across the board for everybody is to find unconventional. Yeah, Rob.
I was going to say, not everybody has Rob's pretty eyes.
No. Yeah,
or his guns.
Yeah, I see him showing off his eyes there, and some of us just have to rely on hard work and talent, So, see, not as
He does. He has pretty eyes.
Yes, it does. He's
I
have
big guns, but not like Rob's.
His probably Luke's require ammunition, so. So anyway, moving on as quickly as possible, Cindy Kemp says getting reviews is like pulling teeth with a sledgehammer or nailing pudding to the wall. How in the purple left-handed banana bread do you get reviews? I ask people a lot. Well, you just asked and answered there, really. It is tough to get reviews. It really is. But any reviews you can get, whether it's on a blog or Amazon or what have you, and Amazon's making it harder than ever to leave reviews. But there's always Goodreads, which also reviews some comic books and graphic novels too, by the way, comic book creators. So now here's another question from Cindy. How do you build a mailing list? Who wants to tackle this one?
All right. Well, I'm going to answer that last question and this one kind of together. So first off, reviews are great, but if you can do interviews, that's even better, because people will look at a review, but if they get to know you, they're more likely to support your project or buy your books if they get to know who you are. People say, oh, my work speaks for itself. Well, that's fine, but you should speak for your work, honestly, because there's so much stuff that's out there and everybody's publishing now because we have the technology and the tools to be able to do that. Anyone can publish now. So you have to find something to really make your stuff stand out. And the thing that really makes it stand out is you. You're what's different than every other thing that's out there. Nobody is like you. And so sell yourself while you're at it. And so do that. And what was that second question?
How do you build a mailing list?
Mailing list. You get out there and just ask people. Build the link where people can sign up for it. And just one of the things that I find works well, anyone will sign up for a mailing list if they can get something free. So set yourself aside some money for stickers or there's all kinds of like little swag things, and set yourself aside, some money for shipping and use it as a marketing tool. So instead of going and buying a mailing list like some people do, go and actually find readers. Say, hey, if you sign up for my mailing list and in my newsletter, my mailing list, you're going to get this free thing this month, and grow your mailing list that way. I mean, it's a perfectly suitable way to do it. I like to do it that way. And then when you're out and about, just ask people, sign up for my mailing list. Put it on your website, put it out there every day, post it. Hey, sign up for my mailing list. Let people know that you want them to sign up for your mailing list. Hey, if you want information, sign up for my mailing list. I mean, push that thing like you are a drug dealer, man.
And we have a friend. His name is Brian K. Morris. He does Never Mind the Furthermore. But not only that, I mean, honestly, I love Brian's newsletters, and I wish I had signed up before, because he's got so many tips and tricks if you just actually look, and those mystery links and surprise links and things like that. It's just, when it's a unique way of getting your audience engaged through email. I mean, it's brilliant, So, I mean, take some of those good ideas and see if it works with your audience. And then, like what Luke was saying, tell everybody and say it all the time. It should just be part of your dialogue, especially if you are talking about your books.
And remember to be inventive. If you could find a way to use, let's say, hand sanitizer in a very unique way, you get hand sanitizer in a special way, that'll get people to stop at your table. So do things at your table that stop people. Like have a giant sign that says free hugs and spanks, and then give out some spanks. I mean, you gotta give some hugs, but we all know you're there for the spanks. Do that. Get noticed. Make yourself not like everyone else. Don't be like just, I'm a novelist. This is what I do. I write. This is my story. No, act like you give a shit when you show up. And we're rated R. So,
don't sit there looking at your phone while people walk by. Please don't do that. Engage people.
Get a thing. Next show I'm on, rated R for raw.
That is so going on the crawl.
How many F1s do I get left until we're there?
We're about to find out, I think. Anyway, well, we've gone over 2 hours now, and these wonderful folks have been very kind. I wish I could get to everyone's comments, but let's get this one from Rick Bradley. I know I look at you for, and I can't wait to get to your level. It'll happen, and when it does, I hope you'll all be proud of me and revel in my success with me. Stephen King Dollars. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Absolutely. That's exciting.
Oh yeah, because, it's like I keep saying with the Rising Tide, when one of us does well, we all celebrate. So, but I think that's a good quote. Also, well, let's go. I hate to skip everyone a lot of quotes here, but a good editor will show you what you did wrong, but also what you did right. Said Cindy Cap. I agree completely. And let's see. Here we go. Carl Wisman said, I've written mostly novelty or mostly comedy. When I wrote this last book, I told many of my previous readers not to buy it. I picture a different audience for that. And let's see here. Let's see. Oh, is Patreon snazzy? It seems so hit and miss among the folks I know who run it. I think it depends on if you have a solid social platform. You know, people who are willing to support you, not just once with the sale of a product, but again and again every month, even while you are producing new things. But for instance, Bobby Nash, who has been on this show a couple of times, he has a Patreon page where he's actually writing a book, one chapter at a time. And if you support him at a certain level, you get to read the chapters and then make comments on it. And then he publishes it. So he's, got his paid reviewers there. Carl Westman says, Cindy, you might look at Amazon or other places and find someone who has written a review. Approach them about writing a review for you. I used to write a lot of computer review books, and it led to others sending me books to review. And Cindy Kemp knows a good idea when she sees it. And Sarah says, is it really hand sanitizer or is that lube? Yeah.
Brian, did you send Rob, did you send that to Brian?
No, but I will if he just asks. Just ask me, Brian.
Please ask.
I'm asking Rob. He said, cringing inside and dying,
Sarah,
perhaps.
if you want to see something, I can show you something that will change your life. It'll change your religion. It'll make you see the world in a whole new way.
Yeah, I'll
be afraid.
I'm like, just don't show it on this show, Rob. That's all I ask. I worry for Luke.
I never saw him happier.
And there's the switch for handicapped people, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, there you go. And Carl Whitson says it's lube. But anyway, and Sarah says, I knew it. Can't fool me. Well, I guess the only gullible one here would be me then.
Hand sanitizer. But it's hand sanitizer deployed as God intended it.
Oh, I have seen that. I know the one you're talking about. That's the one you have to hand pump, if I recall correctly, right? Or at least you score points if you do.
There was foot pedals involved. I can give you guys a description. An anatomically correct man dispensing hand sanitizers from the one faucet attachment that you never expected hand sanitizer to come out. And the handicap actual positioning could get someone shot in the face.
Is that like you have to be this tall to ride? The amusement thing? Is that it? It's sort of what it is? Or you could get an eyeful in more than one sense of the word. Okay, let's see. This. Oh, I don't have the dumpster in here. I don't have the flaming dumpster. I need to set that up. But anyway, I think on that note, and here we go, Rob. Show me, says Sarah. Sarah, there is a such thing as being careful what you ask for. I think you have definitely crossed that line, and may God have mercy on your soul. So anyway, I have enjoyed this last 2 hours plus a couple of minutes, and I really sincerely want to thank my three panelists here, because they could have been anywhere tonight, and they chose to spend it with me and the Nevermorians. So thank you all very, very kindly to you all. And I will now go around the room, and we'll start with Luke Stone. And I want you to tell everybody where they can find you and why I think you guys are just the most special friends in the world to me. Luke, can we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll pop my camera back on so people can see me.
Yeah,
there we go.
You're almost as pretty as Rob.
There we go. Almost. Yeah, there we go. I got a more epic beard than Rob. So Yeah, my name is Luke Stone. You can find me at lukestonestudios.com. And on there, you can find all my social media stuff and things that I do. I've even got some music posted up there from my band called Dave Hates It, which we haven't practiced in a very long time. But I am in a band, so you can find me there. Also, go to terraformcomics.com. And what I want you to do is as soon as you go to terraformcomics.com, I want you to click this little thing where it's asking you to sign up for the mailing list. And I want you to sign up for that mailing list because when you do, you're going to get great information about Terraform Comics and about publishing and about all the new things that we've got coming out. And you know what? We're probably even going to give you some free stuff. So please feel free to sign up for that. I do have one set of the first printing of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, the Trash Day 1 through 5, available on the Indiegogo. So if you go to indiegogo.com, and you look for Hybrids 5, the complete first arc, you can get the very last copy that I have available of the first printing of Hybrids. And so the next printing will have the Terraform logo right on the front. It's going to be beautiful. So that's where you can find me, and check out terraformcomics.com and sign up for the mailing list.
All right. Thank you very much, Luke Stone. Appreciate it, brother. And now let's go to Rob AnderSIN, the Indie Devil himself. Tell us where we can find you and how awesome you are.
I'm not as awesome as Brian K. Morris. I'm trying. I'm in therapy. I'm working towards it. Meredith is above us all, and Luke's trying to save my soul. But you can actually get my books at MrAnderSIN.com, and you can back the past of my creative journey at WrittenSinsComics.com and check out some of the amazing works I did when I was just a pup all 5 years ago. And remember to check out comicbookadvocates.com for all the amazing stuff. And everyone can say hi to Jax.
Hi, Jax.
Say hi.
Hi, Jax.
He's like, oh, man, what did I get involved in?
Not those guys again.
Thanks for having me on, Brian.
Thank you for being here, Rob. It is always a pleasure, my brother. And Meredith, let's hear about what you're up to. And I know you're doing something this weekend. Are you not? He said, leading the discussion.
You know what? Half the time I don't even know what to put down in my name because I think that there's a character limit. But terraformcomics.com, definitely sign up for the newsletter there. I also have a website. I shortened it. It's MEREJ99.com. It's the short link for MeredithLoughran.com because nobody really knows how to spell Loughran. They don't even know how to say it half the time. But, okay, so Terraform Comics, definitely sign up for that. MeredTih99.com, that is my personal website. I am also with Geek Insider. I am also with Wild One Forever. We're not even going to talk about those right now. Indie event this weekend. If you go to YouTube, here's the really cool thing. You can do hashtag INDEEVENT, and you're going to see our playlist. Make sure you save our playlist. Save it to your YouTube, and you can watch approximately 42 hours of content. That's going to happen this weekend. We have shows that are coming from all over the place. We are converging into the one weekend for a huge event that is celebrating us as creators. And we've got people from comic book writers, artists, movie directors. We've got, I think we might even have a couple of musicians. And, it's just going to be a blast. We are networking. This is a great opportunity to see talent that you might not have already been following. Hit the subscribe button, share it out with your friends, let everybody know, because it's a great way to just spend time and see some really cool stuff, shows that you might not have otherwise seen, or maybe that we're kind of overlapping one another. And so we have to make those hard choices sometimes. But, this gives you an opportunity to get a whole bunch of different flavors. And so I really highly recommend it. Visit indievent.com. That's with 2 E's. And sign up for the newsletter. That actually goes to Terraform. I did that. And that's it. I hope to see you guys this weekend.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And I'm Brian K. Morris, the alleged host of this show, RisingTide.pub, where we publish a variety of things, including comics and novels. And the fun thing is, a little programming note here, we are privileged that we are going to kick off Indie Event this coming Friday at noon Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central, following another episode of Nevermind the Furthermore at 10 a.m. 9 a.m. Central. And also, we will have a special episode of this show, Clever Title Pending, Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. Central Time, where we're going to talk to the one, the only Mr. Eric S. Hawkins about being a self-publisher, about working with difficult writers, and finally becoming his own writer, successful Kickstarters. And we welcome your questions just as we did tonight. And let me get everyone on here now. And Cindy Kep says you all done a good job. Thank you so much, Cindy. We do appreciate it. Thank you for your fantastic questions. Dave Woodrum says, man, I need to get into the CD motel business. The work is its own reward, my friend. And also check out a few Clever Title Pendings ago where we had Dave Woodrum talking about game writing. It's a great episode, so check it out. We'll have the man back. Carlene says, the great info. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you for being here. And we want to thank everyone who showed up tonight. You guys had some fantastic questions. We appreciate you all. And I want to give a special thanks to Meredtih Loughran, the Uncanny Comics Devil, Rob AnderSIN himself, and Luke Stone, the editor-in-chief at Terraform Comics. Thank you all for being here. We had a great time, and we'll see you next week with a brand new guest on Clever Title Pending. Take care, everyone.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending, a Rising Tide Publications and Brian K. Morris production. A member of Comic Book Advocating Network and sponsored by GeekInsider.com. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising@geekinsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends. Because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.